The rain was falling hard that evening, the kind that turned the dusty roadside into sticky mud and blurred the headlights of passing cars. On a lonely highway just outside the city, a motorbike suddenly sputtered, coughed, and died. The woman riding it tried the ignition again and again, but the engine refused to respond. Her expensive leather jacket was soaked, her hair clung to her face, and frustration slowly turned into quiet desperation. Across the road, under a dim flickering street lamp, a small roadside repair shed stood with a rusted metal sign that read, Rafiq Auto Repairs. The shop looked humble, almost forgotten by the world. But inside, a tired single father was finishing another long day of work. His name was Rafiq. Rafiq had grease on his hands, worry in his heart, and hope that refused to die. He noticed the stranded motorbike through the rain and sighed softly. It had already been a difficult day. His daughter needed school books, the rent was overdue, and the electricity bill sat folded in his pocket like a silent threat. Yet something in him could never ignore a person in trouble. He grabbed a small toolbox, stepped into the rain, and walked toward the broken bike. And neither of them had the slightest idea that this simple moment would change both of their lives forever. Before we continue this emotional story, take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes kindness still exists in the world, and subscribe to the channel. Also comment below if you believe small acts of kindness can truly change someone's destiny. The woman looked up as Rafiq approached. Her eyes carried both confidence and exhaustion, the kind seen in people who had fought many battles silently. Rainwater dripped from the edge of her helmet as she stepped aside. Rafiq didn't ask unnecessary questions. He simply knelt beside the motorbike and examined the engine with calm patience. Years of experience had trained his hands to understand machines almost like living creatures. Within seconds he could tell the problem. Water had seeped into the carburetor and the spark plug had loosened. It wasn't a complicated issue, but for someone stranded alone in the rain, it could feel like the end of the road. Rafiq wiped his hands on an old cloth and began working quietly. His tools moved with careful precision while the rain continued falling around them. The woman watched him curiously. She noticed the worn-out sleeves of his shirt, the quiet focus in his eyes, and the way he never once complained about the weather or the inconvenience. After a few minutes, the engine roared back to life. The motorbike vibrated smoothly again, as if nothing had ever been wrong. Rafiq stepped back and nodded slightly, satisfied. The woman smiled with visible relief. She reached into her purse and pulled out several large bills, clearly wanting to compensate him generously. But Rafiq shook his head immediately. He didn't refuse rudely. He simply smiled in a quiet, gentle way. Helping someone in trouble didn't feel like something that should be priced. Instead, he told her she could just stop by the repair shop someday if she ever needed a proper service for the bike. The woman looked surprised. People usually accepted money quickly, sometimes even demanded more. But this man had just fixed her problem in the pouring rain and didn't seem interested in taking advantage of the situation. She slowly placed the money back in her purse. Before leaving, she glanced once more at the tiny repair shed across the road and at the man standing under the rain with a worn toolbox. Something about him stayed in her mind. What Rafiq didn't know was that the woman he had just helped was not an ordinary traveler. Her name was Sofia Kareem. And she was one of the youngest billionaires in the country. Sofia owned a massive technology company that had grown into an empire in less than 10 years. Newspapers called her brilliant, powerful, unstoppable. Business magazines praised her intelligence and leadership. But none of those articles mentioned the loneliness. Behind the success, Sofia lived in a world where people admired her wealth more than they cared about her heart. She had seen too many fake smiles, too many opportunistic friendships, and too many relationships that collapsed the moment money was removed from the equation. For months, she had secretly been searching for something simple. Someone real, someone kind, someone who didn't see her as a billionaire. That night, she rode away from the roadside shop with a strange feeling she couldn't explain. For the first time in a long time, someone had treated her like just another human being. No recognition, no greed, just kindness. Meanwhile, Rafiq returned to his shop, closed the metal shutters, and walked home through narrow streets glowing with yellow streetlights. His small apartment sat above a grocery store, where the smell of spices floated through the stairwell. Inside waited the most important person in his life. His 8-year-old daughter, Amina. She was sitting at the table doing homework under a small lamp when he entered. Her face instantly lit up. Rafiq felt warmth in his chest. Life had not been kind to him since his wife passed away 4 years earlier. Losing her had shattered his world, leaving him to raise Amina alone while struggling to keep the repair shop running. There were days when the sadness felt overwhelming. But every time Amina smiled, he found the strength to continue. That night, they shared a simple dinner of rice and lentils. Amina excitedly told him about her school day and the drawing competition she wanted to enter. Rafiq listened carefully, proud of her dreams. Even when money was tight, he tried his best to make sure she never felt poor in love. Across the city, Sofia sat alone in a penthouse apartment that overlooked endless towers of glass and light. Despite the luxury surrounding her, the silence felt heavy. Her thoughts kept returning to the small roadside mechanic who had refused money in the rain. The next morning, curiosity pushed her to do something unusual. Instead of sending assistants or drivers, Sofia personally rode her motorbike back to the repair shop. When she arrived, Rafiq was already working on a customer's scooter while Amina sat nearby coloring pictures on a notebook. Sofia removed her helmet and stepped closer. Rafiq looked up briefly and recognized her. He smiled politely, the same calm smile from the night before. There was no excitement, no sudden change in behavior. To him, she was simply the woman whose bike had broken down. She asked if he could do a full service check on the motorbike. Rafiq agreed and began inspecting it carefully. While waiting, Sofia noticed Amina's drawings spread across the table. Bright flowers, houses, and smiling stick figures filled the pages. Amina shyly explained that she wanted to become an artist someday. Sofia felt something warm stir in her chest. She had spent years surrounded by ambitious adults chasing profit and power. Yet this little girl spoke about dreams with innocent passion. Days turned into weeks, and Sofia found reasons to visit the repair shop again. Sometimes the motorbike needed checking. Sometimes she simply passed by. Each visit revealed more about Rafiq's life, his quiet struggles, his dedication to Amina, and the gentle dignity with which he carried his responsibilities. What surprised Sofia most was how peaceful she felt there. No board meetings, no reporters, no people trying to impress her. Just the sound of tools clinking. And a father helping his daughter with homework between customers. But one afternoon, something unexpected happened. A luxury black SUV suddenly stopped outside the small repair shop. Two men stepped out wearing expensive suits. They approached Sofia respectfully and addressed her formally as Miss Kareem. In that moment, the truth surfaced. Rafiq froze. The name sounded familiar. Then realization hit him. The woman whose bike he had been repairing, the one who had been visiting his small shop, was actually one of the richest women in the country. Embarrassment washed over him. He wiped his hands nervously on a cloth, suddenly aware of the grease stains on his clothes and the broken chair beside the workbench. But Sofia noticed the change immediately. She quickly dismissed the assistants and walked back toward him. Her expression carried a quiet sadness. Because the moment wealth becomes visible, people often begin acting differently. But Rafiq surprised her once again. After a few seconds of silence, he simply shrugged gently and returned to tightening a bolt on the motorbike. To him, she was still the same person whose bike had broken down in the rain. Nothing more, nothing less. That moment changed everything for Sofia. For the first time in years, she felt seen not as a billionaire, but as a human being. Weeks later, Sofia invited Rafiq and Amina to visit her company headquarters. Rafiq hesitated at first. The idea of stepping into such a powerful world made him uncomfortable. But Amina's excitement convinced him. When they arrived, employees watched curiously as the billionaire CEO personally welcomed a humble mechanic and his daughter. But Sofia didn't care about their whispers. She had discovered something far more valuable than business success. Kindness, honesty, and a love that could never be bought with money. Rafiq eventually helped expand the company's vehicle innovation department with his practical mechanical knowledge. His simple experience often solved problems engineers struggled with for weeks. Amina received support for her art education. And slowly, something beautiful grew between Sofia and the single father who had once fixed her motorbike in the rain. Not a relationship built on wealth, but on trust, respect, and genuine care. Before we reach the end of this story, here is a special request for you watching right now. Comment the word kindness below if you believe small good deeds can create life-changing miracles. Because sometimes destiny hides in the simplest moments. A broken motorbike, a rainy evening, a stranger willing to help without expecting anything in return. Years later, Sofia would often tell people that the most important investment she ever made was not in technology or business. It was in the heart of a humble mechanic who proved that genuine love still exists in a world full of transactions. And if this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still matters, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this. Because sometimes the smallest act of kindness can lead to the greatest love story life has to offer. Heart.